Working with Henry Jaglom is comparable to free falling.
You have to know who you are and know what the situation is.
Working on a Jaglom film is a giant roller coaster ride.
First of all, you do that. There you go. And then you do that.
Working on a Henry Jaglom film is...
Cut.
It's a most unusual day. Feel like throwing my worries away. As an old native-born Californian would say, it's a most unusual day.
Action.
The last week after we wrapped, I've been crying incessantly because you just get the whole entire film into your soul, into your heart, because Henry just does his Jaglom thing and makes your whole being live the movie, exist as the movie. I don't have a father. My mother's moving out of the only house that I grew up in that my daddy was in. That's the only thing I had to remember my father with. I have every man leave me. They all think I'm a freak because I always try to show who I am, and the truth is that there's no man who will ever understand me except for my father, and he's dead.
Henry makes a demand on actors that most people stay away from, and forces me to move into areas that are uncomfortable. And that's the best kind of work you can ask for. To be off your guard and out of your head and into the whirl of your emotions. If you ask me to, I'll fall to my knees for you.
How far can you take them before they cry? How far can you take them before they laugh? How much can you love them before they get scared?
Henry makes a demand on himself and makes demands on everybody around him. Not always in a socially accepted manner. Not, in fact, never in a socially accepted manner.
Can I be a bitch?
I think that's one of the reasons that we work really well together, because we can take these things that aren't very socially acceptable and use them in film.
All the boundaries are missing. There's no black and white. There's no structure to follow.
It's absolute freedom. And I'm so trusting because I know that I can take big-time chances.
You know something? I'm going to tell you this.
What?
I'm old. I've been with a lot of people.
I don't want to hear it.
Now you got to hear it because I mean it. You're the sweetest thing that ever happened to me.
Henry shoots in a way where you start something, you have an idea, he gives you an idea, and you start. And if you do it wrong, he cuts, chastises you, and you begin again. That has something marvelous and something terrible.
It's a line of bull when you tell me you're clean and you come here like this. I know you. You're not clean.
Let me go to the bathroom.
Oh my God.
Let me go to the bathroom.
You're going to have to find another bathroom.
It's amazing to be allowed to collaborate in such a big way when you don't have a seat on the table at filmmaking. I mean, you're one of the actors, I'm not even the star, and yet I'm being invited to sit at the table as if I was an equal.
How could he not tell you the truth about him being your father? That's what I don't understand. I can see why he lied to me, of course I can, but Jesus Christ, how could he go through your life not letting you know who your real father was? That selfish prick.
The improvisational way of working terrified me. I came to work quite nervous inside of me of how I would cope with improvising, which I have always loathed and never thought that I was any good at. And I drove home that night completely overjoyed at the fact that it hadn't been hard for me and it hadn't been painful for me. It had been incredibly freeing.
He would just give a piece, a taste, I'd have to say a tease of what role
and what the scenario is.
What is this character about? How far can I go? What does she want?
I find my character in a Henry Jaglom movie much the same way that I find my character in a Robert Altman movie. Suddenly there she is.
He doesn't give you a chance to prepare. His whole thing is just do it, just go in there and do it. He has that element of live dangerousness that he brings to his movies. I remember the producers screaming at me the last day of the shoot, and I was terrified because there were 12-foot waves. And Henry sitting there going, great! Rosemary, our producer, was saying, these waves are way too high, they're huge. And Henry was saying, fantastic, that's great, not getting that I was in extreme danger. Having 2 lifeguards there and a big backup. The makeup girl was shaking because she was freaked out I was going to die. I was scared I was going to die. Nonetheless, that's the kind of excitement that Henry delves into. You have no safety net. Every minute is an adventure. It's all about what can we come up with now? How can we milk this moment for everything it's worth?
Henry Jaglom, seriously. My name, Henry Jaglom. I've written and directed, I think, 15 films. My first film was A Safe Place with Tuesday Whale, Jack Nicholson, and Orson Welles. My second film was Tracks. My third film was Sitting Ducks. My fourth film was Can You Bake a Cherry Pie? My fifth film was Always. I could go on and on. But why should I?
I met him in 1973. In 1974, we financed a picture called Hearts and Minds, a documentary film that was released by Warner Brothers and won the Academy Award for the best documentary that year.
I set foot onto the first day of shooting on A Safe Place and felt immediately at home, more at home than I'd ever felt. I shot 50,000 or 65,000 feet, I can't remember. My ratio was insane. It was 15, 20, 21, 5 to 1. I know much more now as I'm shooting. Yes, I can use that. No, I can't use that. Cut here. I have always been very gifted from the first film in insisting on getting what I wanted. My growth has been much more in my willingness to trust that actors will if they're giving me something that is not exactly what I want, that I can steer them to getting what I want.
I'm sorry, I can't do this cut. This can't be absurd, folks. I don't know what you're doing. Take a big breath before that. I'm going to take a big adjustment now. Like you just did a beautiful one. Just do another one on me. That's it. Sabrina, you're not listening to him. You're planning to talk.
No,
listen to him.
I was...
Listen to him. Don't talk back to me, darling.
Okay.
Just listen to me. Listen to him.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Henry.
In the past, I might have just stopped them and gone to something else. Now I found ways, I think, to get performances out of almost everybody. We talk about the outline of the story, we talk about it in general terms, but contrary to the mostly misunderstood idea about my movie making, it is not made up necessarily on the spot, spontaneously. A lot is written. Some of it taps into some of the lives of the actors.
I married a man who looked just like my father. I didn't even realize it because I hadn't seen Daddy when he was that young in a long time. But he saw my father's picture and said, "Has anyone told you I look like him?" And I said, "Oh my God, you do."
Irene Time is about the relationship between fathers and daughters and how a girl's relationship with her father affects her entire future relationships with the men in their lives.
My character, Irene, is a girl who lost her father when she was really young, and as a result she has a hell of a time finding a man.
I play her mother, I think, who's at times at her wit's end. She has a 30-year-old daughter who can't seem to construct a healthy and fulfilling life for herself. She's attracted to hopeless men who remind her of her father.
I need to feel everything that Daddy touched because sometimes I don't quite recall his face.
I understand, but you know what? The other thing is, time doesn't stand still.
She's still in a state of romantic love with this dead man whom she idolizes. I don't want either to allow her to preserve this highly unrealistic, glorious portrait of her father as the totally perfect man. On the other hand, I don't want to destroy some of the memories that she has for him.
I helped create the idea for my character. He basically based it on what he knew I could do, what I would be good at, because he knows me pretty well, because he's my dad. Because the teachers are just trying to cram everything in before the end of the year. It's like I have finals, I have a test in every subject.
Yeah.
And I just turned in yesterday an English and a history project. Both due on the same day, giant
What was it?
project.
You had to read something, write a
No,
comparison,
it was like worse than that.
contrast
We had to
type
like
of thing?
analyze stuff and it was horrible.
What book?
I worked with him basically on all the movies since I was born. I'm Sabrina, by the way, hi.
You're not Sabrina. It's okay. Say it. Cut it. Come on.
I'm Gigi, by the way.
In the movie, my name's Ollie. I'm kind of the same as my real character. I like playing basketball and want to be in the NBA and all that stuff. Is he coming back?
Who?
The guy you just playing.
But I'm playing myself.
Oh. Oh, okay. Bye.
Goodbye.
It's very fun watching him direct. He's really cut out for a director because sometimes at home he's like, oh, what are you, crazy? And yelling around and stuff like he always does here.
What are you, crazy?
I'm imitating him. What?
What?
What are you, crazy?
What are you, crazy?
I play a character named Sheila Shivers. She's a casting person. She has no husband. She has an ex-husband who was just a nebbish chemical sensitivity person.
My daughter in the movie has unfortunately, a horrible dad relationship, and I play that horrible dad.
I play Jojo Ferrantino. I'm Irene's best friend. She also is living in my guest house.
You stay out or you come in, but you don't come in and out of my life anymore. I can't do this. I won't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. You're not my father.
Jojo has a troubled relationship with her father. Her father is a drug addict. Her parents got divorced when she was young, like 7 or 8. And her father has come in and out of her life randomly.
You know, if your father can't love you, how could you possibly be loved?
It's very heart-wrenching, and a lot of the women had such great stuff on it. There was no woman who wasn't in tears during this movie, or tears of laughter, tears of joy, or tears of sadness. Every woman has such a strong pull to their father, so it's a really universal storyline.
I was the daddy's girl, so I can totally relate to the story.
But I always thought that my father was really special, and you know, my mum was just dear old mum who was always there. My father was killed in a car crash when I was 17, so I suppose I had some unfinished adolescent business that wasn't worked out there.
As I became an adult woman, what I was searching for was someone who could see life and have fun. And have a sense of humor, And I never saw that growing up, and I never saw that from my father.
I think there are women who have a little problem finding the man of their dreams because their fathers were so important to them. And you know, no one is going to love you like your father.
There's always that doubt, there's always that question of, can you find somebody? Or is it just your father that will feel that way about you?
Me in the eye, speaking velvet tones. There may be 20 people here, but
She can't find her father, basically, so she's going on date after date after date.
And having a lot of difficulty, and going to books to find out how to do that, and going to friends to get advice, and trying everything out, and just failing to make it go right to get the guy.
and you'll say that way, but don't say you're gay. Don't say.
She has a hell of a time finding a man. She's always looking for her father in the men. At first she tries to conform to what the men want, and then she kind of gets this thing where she says, screw it.
She is the most spontaneous, most in-the-moment actor that I've ever worked with. The star is Tana Frederick, a spectacular new actress who has starred in my prior movie called Hollywood Dreams.
All I want to do is act and be an actress. But it's no use if you can't even relax, right? Sorry, that's too much information. You didn't need to know all that.
She's a brilliant human being. She's a brilliant girl. Not only is she brilliant intellectually, she's emotionally all over the place. She's really has a tremendous, can tap into her own emotions instantly and means them and feels it. And just everything you want in an actress.
Tana is astonishingly well equipped with the fullness of life, the fullness of expression. And nothing stops her, nothing. So you can throw anything in her direction, which is, for my way of working, wonderful. And yet she can take a script and make it her own, interpret it, make it her own, and follow exactly the needs, the requirements of the story. And then when I ask her to depart, she can just jump in any direction necessary. It's an amazing gift for an actor.
She fills up the room with this amazing energy that she radiates. And as an actor, I'm so different from that. I feel more reserved and introspective, and it's great to watch it because it rubs off on you and makes you a little bit more brave the next time to let a little bit more of your guard down. She doesn't seem to have any guard to bring down.
She doesn't ever censor herself. She doesn't care how she looks. She's just funny, and she's always beautiful.
She has the range to go into comedy, profound, hysterical, almost broad Lucille Ball kind of comedy, and the next moment, deep tragedy, deep touching, serious pathos. And she never acts it, she feels it, she behaves it, she allows it.
It's been just wonderful watching her. I've always loved watching Tana act. And she's acted since she was 4 years old. I mean, it's what she's always wanted to do.
She wants the people that she knows who are also actors, she wants them to be successful, and I've just been blown away by how generous she's been.
I get excited by throwing little twists at actors, I think, as much as Henry does. I love to suddenly scream at somebody and see what they do. I love to suddenly make somebody really mad, and I love just like needling people.
I'm completely serious. I'm so
I
in
haven't
love.
seen you in 6 years.
I know it's
I'm
a little
sorry.
strange, but I know it's.
Do you know what you're doing? I'm really lucky in the sense that I found somebody who I just gel with. We have so much fun together. He can bark sometimes, but for the most part, it's a delight. It's the delight that he finds in creating things, and we're both just like two little 6-year-olds building a sandcastle. I think we fully inspire one another.
When you are doing Henry Jaglom movie, he'll say, no, say but action. And if you're not a very literate person, you won't know what the hell he said, and you won't be able to do it. And I've watched Tana take direction from Henry. And he'll say, no, do action. And she goes, she gets exactly what he's saying.
Henry and I somehow are clairvoyantly linked.
We have an extraordinary collaboration.
I had a friend, I was in a play called Toussaint for the Love of Freedom, and there was an actor who came to rehearsal and said, I just filmed a great movie with Henry Jaglom. And I said, who's Henry Jaglom? He gave me deja vu. I watched the opening credits, wrote him a 3-page letter because, I'm a desperate actress. It was single-spaced. I ran it over to the office. He wasn't there. He called me the next day and said, what did you mean by this letter? What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? But he read my entire letter, quizzed me about it. I was a little miffed at first because he was very rude. But then we ended up talking and staying on the phone for an hour and a half, and just, I delighted in him. I thought, wow, what an interesting, strange creature. What an honest weirdo. What a fun sweetheart. What a jerk. What an intelligent person. We ended up planning our first movie together and doing Hollywood Dreams together. And right before the movie, I did end up telling him, because I felt very guilty, that I had never ever seen Deja Vu when I had written him the letter. And he said, I have found my match made in heaven. Working with Henry Jaglom for Hollywood Dreams, I think for both he and I, was a really electric experience. It was both he and I discovering each other as artists for the first time.
I can't believe where I am. I can't believe this entire day. I can't believe what's happened to me. I can't believe you pulled me into that picture. That's the nicest thing that anybody has ever done for me.
You were amazing.
I've never really done anything except to just be myself in that moment.
The most important thing an actor could have is the ability to be there, just to be there in the moment. And nobody I know yet that I've worked with has the capacity to be in the moment the way that Tana Frederick does.
I just can't believe it. I can't believe I'm here.
When I see Henry's films, you know, I know how beautifully shot they are and how great the collaboration between Henry and Hananya Bear are. Now that I see Hananya work, I realize he truly shares Henry's vision completely. I mean, I can't imagine there not being together.
That's good.
I wrote the songs for the film. I play Sandy Fuse. It is my band that Tana is singing with. If I can get this open tonight, get it all written down tonight. I had known Henry 20 years ago when I had written a script for his cinematographer, Hananya Bear, and I heard him say, I only make films because I can't write songs. And I thought, I only write songs because I can't make films. And so I thought, I am so destined to work with this man. I didn't realize it would turn out like this. Oh, okay, let me start.
I'm sorry, is it me?
I think you're starting it.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. To be on this side of the camera, I didn't ever dream what happened with him.
You make me weak. You make me strong.
It is truly a dream come true.
For the way your hand looks, resting on my knee.
I'm a major fan. I've seen all his movies.
The way a friend looks, looking at me.
So you can imagine that for me, this is like I have hit the mother love.
We're better lovers than I thought we should be. Baby, life is better than I thought it could.
I work in Henry's office. I'm the receptionist. He knows me as his assistant's assistant. I had written and produced a short film through a class. I finally got up the courage and I said, Henry, I'm re-editing the short. I'd love to get your opinion. He sat through the whole film and gave me amazing feedback. And then, like 2 days later, he comes into the office, asks for his messages, and says, oh, by the way, you know, your screen presence is so interesting. I wrote a part for you in my next film. I was like, oh my God.
I cast people usually by finding somebody that has something interesting about them, something relevant to the story. Interesting is the most amazing thing, because interesting has nothing to do with talent. And when talented people are interesting, it's 100%. It's amazing. That's like Tana.
He will cast the actors, and then he will take everything from those actors that he finds unique, compelling, interesting, neurotic, and he will create a story around all of the people that he casts in his movies. Fortunately for me, I have a lot of friends who are very neurotic, unique, special, very, very talented people. And I was able to bring in 12 people in this film to all play a little bit in this whole kaleidoscope of Irene's life. Some of my friends in the last movie, Hollywood Dreams, freaked and froze on camera, but in this film, Irene and Todd, they were so excited. They all came up with a little bit of gold. For example, he whispered into one of the girls' ears from Iowa, who I pulled into this show. He had whispered into her ears, and then during the scene, she leans over and kisses me and hits on me. And that's the kind of stuff you expect. I can see why you like that.
I thought that was pretty good.
That was pretty good.
That was good.
I like to use people I know as much as possible because I know the buttons to push to get certain emotional responses.
He's very Robert Altman in the sense, and Chris Guest in the sense that he works with the same people over and over and over.
What I don't do, which is the conventional thing to do, is write a script and then try to force actors narrowly into playing a certain part in that script.
I find it's really hard to talk about. In fact, I feel like my neck is turning red
No.
when I talk about
it's hard.
emotional things.
Yeah.
If you can tap into your own reality, you're just much more able to give a larger amount of yourself.
The only emotion that was really acceptable when I was growing up was anger. And so we didn't talk about feelings. It was like that.
There can be very interesting people who, just have a moment. You just need a moment from them.
When you go to your room, look around very carefully.
This is my fourth Henry Jaglom picture. Every film is a challenge, but the challenges are different. So I'm a better producer with him now than I was the first time I worked with him, and I enjoy the process and I enjoy the challenge, and Henry is full of challenges. Henry, unlike most directors now, edits the films himself, but not only does he edit the films himself, he edits on a chem, which is 35mm film and a 35mm magnetic soundtrack.
Like I always think of these films as my like big gowns, evening gowns, and I'm sewing like another evening gown, putting it together, deciding what the trim will be, the lace.
Yesterday I had to tell him that the laboratory had run out of mag film or sound film, and they don't make it anymore.
When I started working, people were working on moviolas, and Orson Welles said to me, and he was in my first film, he said, "You've got to cut the film on a cam, because you can learn to cut it yourself, and a real filmmaker cuts their own films."
He may find himself actually having to edit on a computer, and that will be an interesting process for him, but he enjoys challenges. Even though he sets them, he enjoys making them for himself, and I think if he has to move into the digital realm, he will do so, and it will give him great freedom, although he won't think that at the time.
I was the first at that time to be using this cam. Now I am the last, it seems, because I'm suddenly reactionary, whereas I was very advanced before. Because to do it on tape, to do it with all the new technology, as fast as that can be, as helpful as that can be, and immediately calling up with buttons, the scenes you want and so on, disallows the amazing amount of accidents, surprise, sort of serendipity that happens in cutting this way. I physically put it together, I splice it together, and in doing that, first of all, I feel like I'm making the film. I mean, I feel like an artisan. What made me feel lonely as a child was people not acknowledging the truth of what was going on, people pretending, people lying to each other, people hiding in closets, people just terrified that if you saw who they really were, you'd leave.
Somehow Henry's irritations and humor and bewildering, he feels bewildered, and when he's irascible, vitriolic, all of these things are very real to me and very
My goal is to really try emotionally to share what this journey is about, what life is like for all of us, and the vulnerabilities and the needfulnesses and the complexity of life, and the truthfulness of human behavior, and to make people feel less alone.
I really love Henry. Henry is like a brother to me. There are ways in which Henry is more familiar to me than my own husband.
Each one of my films I think of as a chapter in some large novel about what life is like.
Henry is so good at finding the pulse of an issue for women.
One of the main things that seemed to be important to me was to use the ability that I had to make films to try to capture the lives of women in all their joy and pain, and truthfully put that up on screen.
I have a little moment of pain every day.
When I was a child, I took hold of his hands and stood on the top of his shoes. He smiled at me with all his heart and then gently hummed a tune, and we moved backward and forward. Oh, it was such a simple thing, and in that moment I learned about love and the peace that love can bring.
I don't understand people when they say they run out of things to do. It just never occurs to me that I'm going to run out of anything. It's just always a question of, okay, how many films can I get in before I pop off?
Anything for art. He will not be nice for it. He will not be polite for it. He will not please anybody for it.
There was this film, a documentary film made about Eskimos. And in that film, the filmmaker comes up to this old Eskimo who is carving a gigantic walrus tusk. And he asks the Eskimo, "What are you making? What are you making?" And the Eskimo looks at him, totally like confused by the question, and says, I'm trying to find out what's inside. And Orson said, "You're like that old Eskimo, Henry, carving away at all of us, at you, because I was in the film myself, at your actors, at our whole culture, trying to find out what's inside of all of us." And that's the best description of what it is I'm trying to do.
I'm dancing with my father, making circles in the room. Yes, I'm dancing with my father.